The first time Lena Reyes saw the Harrington baby, she stopped breathing. He was wrapped in silk, asleep in a stroller worth more than everything Lena and her twin brother owned. Around him, suits lifted champagne while a violinist played near the fountain. A banner welcomed home the Harrington heir. Lena should have kept walking. She and Leo had slipped through the side garden after helping Mrs. Rosa unload nursery blankets behind the hospital. Homeless children did not interrupt families like the Harringtons. They did not step onto white paths with torn shoes. They did not point at newborn babies and say the sentence that could destroy a mother's life. But Lena wasn't looking at the silk blanket. She was looking at the hospital bracelet. Leo saw it too. His fingers tightened around her sleeve. Across the garden, Elise Harrington smiled for the cameras, one hand on the stroller, unaware that the baby beside her carried the wrong color on his wrist. Room 412 babies wore blue. Mrs. Rosa had made them sort blankets by ward color all winter. Blue for maternity, yellow for NICU overflow. Green was different. Green meant discharge transfer. Green meant the baby had come from somewhere else. Leo whispered, "That's not him." A security guard started toward them. Elise turned, smiling, as if security could make the moment clean again. Lena pointed at the baby's wrist. "That's not the baby you took out of the hospital." The music stopped, one violin string crying out of tune. Then the family lawyer moved before anyone else did. Before Elise could reach for the bracelet, he placed a hand on her shoulder and said, calm as glass, "Mrs. Harrington, don't listen to them." But Elise was no longer looking at Lena. She was looking at the green stripe. Victor Crane did not raise his voice. That was what made people obey him. He smiled at the guests, the photographers, the security guard, and the two children standing on the white stone, as if they had dragged the street in with them. "Mrs. Harrington has had a long week," he said. "Please give the family some space." The garden obeyed before Elise did. A photographer lowered his camera. A woman in pearls looked away. The violinist found the correct note and tried to continue, but the music sounded thinner. Elisa kept her hand on the stroller. Oliver slept through all of it. That was the name on the welcome banner, the name embroidered on the cream blanket, the name every nurse had used when she placed him against Elise's chest. Oliver Harrington Vale, her son, her miracle, the only part of Daniel that had come home with her. "Elise," Victor said softly. His hand was still on her shoulder. She hated that she noticed the pressure before she noticed his words. The girl had not run. The boy had not either. Security stood between them and the fountain, one broad hand held out like a wall. "They need to leave," Victor told the guard. Elise forced herself to look at the children. "What are your names?" Victor's fingers tightened. "Mrs. Harrington, I asked them a question." The girl swallowed. "Lena." The boy lifted his chin. "Leo." Their last name did not come. Elise wondered if that was caution or shame. Victor stepped half a pace in front of her. "These children were found on private property. We will handle it without making a scene." "You're making a scene," Leo said. A few guests gasped. The guard reached for his arm. Lena pulled him back before contact. Elise saw it then. Practice. The quick movement of a child who knew how to keep someone smaller from being grabbed. Something in her chest tightened. She had spent 3 days surrounded by adults who touched her life without asking. Nurses adjusted the lights. Her brother Graham signed forms. Victor answered questions meant for her. The pediatric consultant explained that exhaustion could make new mothers anxious, especially widows. Everyone had been kind. Everyone had also been in control. "Let them go," Elise said. Victor turned to her, still smiling. "Of course, security can escort them out. I mean, don't touch them." The smile held, but it lost warmth. Lena looked at Elise for one breath longer. Then her eyes went back to the stroller. "Room 412 was blue," she said quietly. This time she did not point. The restraint made the words worse. Victor exhaled through his nose. "She's repeating something she heard near the hospital. Children learn quickly when attention rewards them." Leo's face reddened. "We helped Mrs. Rosa. We saw the blankets. We saw the bands." "Enough," Victor said. Elise looked down before he could stop her. The bracelet was turned inward now, the printed side facing the baby's skin. Only the edge showed. White plastic, black letters, a hospital logo she had seen so many times that week, it had become invisible. She reached for it. Oliver shifted and made a soft sound. Victor's voice dropped. "Elise, not here." The words were gentle. The command inside them was not. Graham appeared with a glass of water she had not asked for. "You're exhausted. Come inside. We can deal with this later." Later. That was what everyone had said since the birth. Later, you can review the paperwork. Later, You can ask about the medication later, when you've slept. She had agreed because she was tired, because grief had made her grateful for anyone who seemed steady, because Daniel would have known what questions to ask and Daniel was gone. But the girl's sentence had lodged under her skin. That's not the baby you took out of the hospital. The guard guided Lena and Leo toward the service gate without touching them. Lena kept her chin down. Leo looked back once. Not at Elise. At the bracelet. When they were gone, the garden tried to become beautiful again. The music strengthened. Guests resumed their careful conversations. Victor gave a small nod to the event manager, and the champagne trays began moving as if nothing had cracked. Elise stood beside the stroller and felt the first clean edge of fear. Inside the house, 20 minutes later, while Oliver slept in a bassinet beneath a portrait of Daniel's grandfather, Elise locked the nursery door. Her phone was still full of hospital pictures. She scrolled past flowers, nurses, Graham holding a gift bag, Victor signing beside the discharge desk. Then she found it. A blurry photo taken at 3:12 a.m. Oliver lay against her arm, tiny wrist turned toward the camera. The bracelet was visible. Elise zoomed in until the image broke into squares. Blue. A knock sounded at the nursery door. Victor's voice came through, calm and patient. Elise, we should talk before you upset yourself. Elise looked from the phone to the sleeping baby. Then she turned the screen face down. Elise did not open the nursery door when Victor knocked again. She stood beside the bassinet, phone face down on the changing table, and counted the seconds between Oliver's breaths. Whatever the bracelet meant, the baby in front of her was not a mistake. He was warm, small, and real. That made the fear worse. If Lena and Leo were lying, Elise had let fear touch her son. If they were telling the truth, someone had placed an innocent child in her arms and expected love to make her stop asking questions. Victor knocked a third time. Elise, Graham is worried. Of course Graham was worried. Her brother had always been worried in ways that ended with other people making decisions for her. I'm nursing, Elise called. Oliver was not awake. She had not nursed him since dawn. The lie came out so easily that it frightened her. Victor paused. Take your time, he said at last. His footsteps moved away. Elise waited until they faded down the hall. Then she sent the photo of the blue bracelet to herself and deleted the message from the sent folder. Instinct, maybe, or the memory of Victor signing papers beside the discharge desk while she fought to stay awake. 10 minutes later, she told the house nurse she needed air. The nurse offered to come. Elise smiled the way Harrington women were trained to smile, when refusing without seeming rude. I won't leave the grounds. That part was almost true. She went out through the rose corridor, past the caterers packing silver trays, and down the path toward the service gate. Lena and Leo were not there. For one strange moment, disappointment hit harder than fear. Then Elise saw a square of folded paper tucked between two stones near the gate latch. It was torn from a grocery receipt. On the back, in pencil, someone had written, Bus Depot, Bay 6. Don't bring him. No name. No explanation. Just those 4 words. Elise should have called security. She should have called the police. She should have called anyone except the 2 children Victor had already decided were dangerous. Instead, she took her car keys from the drawer in the mudroom and left through the staff driveway. The bus depot sat 12 blocks from Harrington House. The pavement was cracked, the benches metal, and a vending machine buzzed beside a peeling mural. No one looked up when Elise entered, which felt like disguise. Lena saw her first. She was sitting on the floor behind Bay 6, knees drawn up, a paper bag between her shoes. Leo stood beside her, pretending not to watch every adult who passed. You came alone? He asked. Yes. Show us your hands. Elise almost laughed. Then she realized he meant it. She lifted both hands. Leo looked behind her. No lawyer, no lawyer. Lena's shoulders lowered a fraction. Elise sat on the edge of the nearest bench, careful not to move too close. You said you helped Mrs. Rosa. Lena touched the paper bag with her fingertips. She's not our grandmother. I didn't ask that. People always ask that next. The answer landed quietly. Elise nodded. Then I won't. Leo studied her face as if looking for a trick. Mrs. Rosa used to work at St. Agnes, not as a nurse. She always says that part. She did laundry, nursery carts, blanket bins, whatever they needed. After she got old, she helped churches sort donations. We helped her because sometimes she gave us soup. And she taught you the colors. She made us learn them, Lena said. Said babies couldn't speak, so tags had to. Elise felt the sentence settle inside her. Babies couldn't speak, so Tags had to. "What did you see at the hospital?" she asked. The twins exchanged a look. Leo answered first. "2 nights before the party, behind St. Agnes. We were helping unload blankets from the donation van. Mrs. Rosa told us not to go near the private exit." "So you went near it," Elise said. Leo looked offended. "We heard crying." Lena opened the paper bag. Inside was a scrap of yellow cloth, small enough to fit in Elise's palm. One corner was twisted into a tight knot, tied in a shape that almost looked like an animal ear. "It was on the loading dock," Lena said. "Not in the trash, caught under one wheel of a laundry cart." Elise did not touch it yet. "The baby had this?" "The other baby," Leo said. The words struck the metal bench between them. Lena gave him a warning look, then continued more carefully. "We saw a woman come out with a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket. Not the nurses from upstairs. She had grey shoes, the kind hospital office people wear. There was a folder under her arm." "What did the baby look like?" "Small," Leo said. Then he frowned, aware that all newborns were small. "Red face, dark hair, a spot here." He touched the side of his own neck, below the ear. Elise's hand moved before she could stop it, reaching toward the memory of Oliver at her breast. She had checked his fingers, his toes, the soft, dark swirl of hair at the crown of his head. She had not noticed a mark near his neck, because there was no mark, or because she had been too exhausted to see it. "What happened next?" she asked. "The woman met a man by the service elevator," Lena said. "He wasn't a doctor. He had one of those flat silver cases people use for papers. Did you hear them?" "Only a little." Leo's voice dropped. He said, "Wrong color goes out first." Lena hugged the paper bag against her knees. "Then Mrs. Rosa called for us, and we hid behind the bins. When we looked again, the baby was gone." Elise stared at the scrap of yellow cloth. It was not proof. Any hospital could own yellow blankets. Any child could misremember a hallway, a woman, a sentence half-heard behind a loading dock. Victor would say that. Graham would say that. A court would probably say that too. But Victor had moved before anyone else did, and the bracelet in her photo had been blue. "Why didn't you tell someone?" Elise asked. Leo laughed once, without humor. "We did." Lena's eyes stayed on the floor. "A security guard said if we came back, he'd call child services. Mrs. Rosa told us to leave it alone until she could ask somebody she trusted." "Where is Mrs. Rosa now?" Neither twin answered quickly enough. A colder fear entered the space between them. Lena finally said, "She didn't come to the pantry yesterday." "She always comes," Leo added. The depot speaker crackled overhead, announcing a bus Elise did not hear. Lena pushed the paper bag toward her. "You shouldn't keep this," Elise said. "You shouldn't leave it either." The girl's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Elise looked at the scrap again. Yellow cloth, a strange knot, a story full of gaps, not enough to accuse anyone, enough to start. She folded the bag closed. When she looked up, Leo was staring past her shoulder. Elise turned. Across the depot, near the payphones no one used anymore, a man in a dark suit stood watching Bay 6. He was not Victor, but he held his phone up, camera pointed at them. Elise did not look at the man in the suit for more than a second. If she stared, he would know. If she rushed the twins out, he would follow. So she folded the paper bag under her arm and asked Lena where the nearest bathroom was. Lena understood before Leo did. "Back hall," she said. They walked without running. Elise felt the man's phone follow them across the depot. At the corner, a woman with grocery sacks blocked the hall. Lena slipped left. Leo slipped right. Elise followed them through employees only into an alley smelling of rain, diesel, and cardboard. Only then did Leo breathe. "Who was that?" "Someone who didn't want me alone with you," Elise said. Leo looked almost satisfied. "So you believe us now?" Elise held the bag tighter. "I believe someone is afraid of what you saw." That was not the same thing. The difference mattered. After taking side streets to a small church pantry behind St. Bridget's, Lena knocked twice, paused, then knocked once more. No one answered. "She should be here," Lena said. The pantry smelled of onions and dust. Boxes of donated clothes sat beside canned beans and dented baby formula. A handwritten sign above the sink read, "Take what you need, leave what you can." "Mrs. Rosa sleeps upstairs when her knees hurt," Leo said. Elise turned. "She lives here?" "Sometimes," Lena said. "When the shelter is full." 2 folding chairs by the heater were empty. A mug sat on the counter with tea dried dark at the bottom. Beside it was a calendar marked with delivery times and names in different inks. Lena went straight to the lower shelf behind a box of infant socks. "After the hospital," she said, "Mrs. Rosa put something here. She told us not to touch it unless she missed 2 pantry days. Leo's face tightened. She only missed 1. Lena did not answer. She pulled out a plastic formula tub with no label. Inside were rubber bands, safety pins, bus tokens, and a small envelope sealed with tape. On the front, in careful blue ink, someone had written, "For the twins, if Rosa can't come." Elise felt the room narrow around those words. "That isn't Mrs. Rosa's writing," Leo said. "No," Lena whispered. She opened the envelope with both hands. Inside was a torn hospital intake form, a strip of white plastic, and a photograph printed on cheap paper. The photograph showed a young woman sitting on a clinic bed, hair tied back, face turned away from the camera. A newborn rested against her shoulder in a yellow blanket, one corner tied into the same small rabbit-ear knot. On the edge of the picture, someone had written in pencil, "His name is Matteo." Elise sat down before her legs could betray her. The plastic strip was only 3 inches long, cut from a hospital bracelet. Most of the printed label had been scraped, but a few letters remained. Tor. Below that, a date. The same date Oliver had been discharged. "Who is she?" Elise asked. Lena looked at the photograph instead of Elise. "Maya. You know her?" "Not really. She came to the pantry sometimes. She was 17, maybe 18. Mrs. Rosa said not to ask too many questions because questions made scared people leave." Leo added, "She used to trade formula coupons for soup even before she looked pregnant. Said she was saving them for later." Elise stared at the baby in the picture. Dark hair, a cheek pressed into yellow cloth, neck hidden by the blanket's fold. "What happened to her?" Lena shook her head. 3 nights ago, she came after midnight. She was crying but quiet, like she had practiced. She gave Mrs. Rosa a bundle and said if anybody asked, the yellow blanket was never in the hospital. Leo's voice went smaller. "She said somebody made her sign papers while she was still dizzy." Elise looked up. "What papers?" "She didn't say." Lena touched the torn intake form. "Mrs. Rosa told her she needed a lawyer. Maya said the lawyer was the problem." The words entered Elise like cold water. "Victor. No. Not yet. Not without proof." She forced herself to breathe through the thought. What did Mrs. Rosa do? She told Maya to stay upstairs, but Maya wouldn't. She kept saying they would find her if she stayed where poor girls always go. Lena's mouth trembled, then steadied, so Mrs. Rosa hid the envelope and walked her to the night bus. To where? "We don't know." Leo picked at a tear in his sleeve. "Mrs. Rosa said she'd ask someone from the clinic to check the discharge logs. Then she didn't come back." The pantry seemed suddenly too small for all the things Elise did not know. A missing retired laundry worker, a teenage mother with a cut bracelet, a baby named Matteo, a lawyer who moved too quickly. The evidence still would not stand by itself. A photograph could be staged, a bracelet strip could be stolen, a frightened, but Maya had left pieces, note à confession, note en accusation, a trail. Elise folded the photograph back into the envelope. "I'm taking copies, not the originals." "With what?" Leo asked. "My phone." Lena's hand closed over the envelope before Elise could lift it. "No cloud." Elise paused. "What?" "Mrs. Rosa says rich people put everything in clouds and then act surprised when storms come." Under different circumstances, Elise might have smiled. Instead, she opened her camera settings and turned off automatic backup while Lena watched every motion. Then she photographed each item twice. The form, the bracelet strip, the picture, the pencil writing. When she finished, she returned everything to the formula tub. "You need to leave this here," Lena said. "You need to leave with me," Elise said. Both recoiled. "I don't mean my house," she added quickly. "Somewhere safe. A hotel. A lawyer who is not Victor. A social worker I choose." Leo's expression closed. "That's how people split twins." The answer stopped her. Elise heard her own privilege in the offer. To her, safety meant doors, clean sheets, names on paperwork. To Leo, paperwork meant separation. Before she could answer, her phone rang. Graham. She declined. It rang again. Victor. She declined that too. Then a message appeared from Graham. "Where are you?" A photo came in right after. Elise opened it. There she was at the bus depot, sitting with Lena and Leo, the paper bag at Lena's feet. The angle was distant, grainy, but clear enough. A second message followed. "Victor says this is dangerous. Come home now before this becomes a legal issue." Lena saw her face. "He sent it?" "My brother. But the man sent it to him," Leo said. Elise did not answer. Her phone rang a third time. This time the screen showed Dr. Samuel Klein, the family consultant who had spoken gently about postpartum anxiety while Victor stood beside her hospital bed. She let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the transcript appeared. "Mrs. Harrington, this is Dr. Klein. Victor tells me you may be experiencing a fixation around the baby's hospital discharge. Please return home so we can assess whether additional support is needed before tonight's feeding schedule." Before tonight's feeding schedule, Elise read the line twice. Not before dinner, not before you rest. Before the baby needed her again. For the first time all day, anger steadied her more than fear. She placed the phone face down on the pantry counter. "We're done talking in places they can photograph," she said. Lena looked at the formula tub, then at the door. "And Mrs. Rosa?" Elise picked up the yellow scrap and tucked it into the inner pocket of her coat. "We find her next," she said. Outside, a car slowed in front of the pantry windows, then kept rolling. Elise learned quickly that money could open doors, but not the ones that mattered. At St. Agnes, the front desk remembered her. Everyone did. Nurses straightened when she stepped into the lobby. A volunteer offered a wheelchair she did not need. The receptionist said Mrs. Harrington in a voice soft enough to make other people turn. But when Elise asked to speak to someone in records, the softness changed shape. "I'm sorry," the receptionist said. "Discharge records are not released without a formal request. I'm not asking for release. I'm asking who accessed my son's file. That would also require a formal request. I'm on the board of the Harrington Medical Foundation." The woman's expression did not move. "Then you know why we protect patient privacy." Behind Elise, Lena shifted under the borrowed hoodie Elise had found in the pantry donation box. Leo stood beside her with his hands in his pockets, trying to look like he belonged to no one. He was failing. 2 security guards near the elevators had already noticed him. Elise lowered her voice. "I need to speak with Dr. Penelope Marsh." The receptionist looked down too fast. That was answer enough. A door opened behind the desk, and a woman in a charcoal dress stepped out as if she had been waiting for the correct moment. She was in her 50s, neat, unsmiling, with a hospital badge clipped exactly straight against her jacket. Her shoes were grey. Lena saw them. Elise felt the girl go still beside her. "Mrs. Harrington," the woman said, "I'm Dr. Marsh. I understand you've had a difficult morning." Elise hated how quickly that phrase had begun following her. "I want a copy of the access history for my baby's bracelet and discharge file." Dr. Marsh did not blink. "Bracelet numbers are not medical conclusions. They are identifiers, and identifiers can be misunderstood by people who do not understand our process." The sentence glanced once toward Lena and Leo without naming them. Elise stepped slightly in front of the twins. "Then explain the process. I would be glad to schedule a meeting with your counsel present. My counsel is not required for me to ask about my child." "No," Dr. Marsh said, "but he is helpful when emotions are high." There it was again. Emotion as weakness, grief as evidence, motherhood as a condition to be managed. Elise almost pushed harder. Then Leo coughed once, not because he needed to, because he had seen something. Across the lobby, an old laundry cart rolled through a service door. On its side was a faded blue sticker, "Maternity, 4th floor." A corner of yellow cloth hung from beneath the lid. Lena's eyes followed it. Elise forced herself to smile at Dr. Marsh. "Schedule the meeting. Victor has already asked us to hold time tomorrow." "Of course he had. Then I'll see you tomorrow," Elise said. Dr. Marsh watched her for a beat longer than courtesy required. "Please don't upset yourself with partial information, Mrs. Harrington. In hospitals, half a fact can be more dangerous than a lie." Elise thought of Maya's envelope. Sometimes half a fact is what someone leaves when no one lets her tell the whole truth. For the first time, Dr. Marsh's mouth tightened. Elise turned away before she could enjoy it. They did not follow the laundry cart immediately. That would have been too obvious. They walked toward the chapel first, past a wall of donor names and a glass case displaying old photographs of St. Agnes through the decades. Inside the chapel, Elise sat in the last pew. Lena whispered, "That was her." "The woman with the baby?" Elise asked. "The shoes," Lena said. "I remember the shoes." Leo leaned forward. "And she knew about tomorrow before you told her." Elise had noticed that too. The service door near the lobby opened every few minutes. Laundry, catering, a technician pushing oxygen tanks. It took 11 minutes before no guard was watching. Leo moved first. Elise caught his sleeve. "We don't run," she said. He looked at her hand until she let go. Then he nodded. They slipped through behind a cart, stacked with folded sheets. The service hallway was colder than the lobby, lit by strips of white ceiling light. Pipes hummed behind the walls. Signs pointed towards sterile processing, linen storage, waste, pharmacy access. Mrs. Rosa used to come through here, Lena whispered. You're sure? She said rich floors have pretty doors. Real work uses ugly ones. The first ugly door was locked, so was the second. At the third, Leo bent down and pulled a loose rubber wedge from beneath a drain pipe. He jammed it under the frame and pushed. The door opened 3 inches. Elise stared at him. What? He whispered. Laundry people don't like badge readers either. Inside was a narrow room lined with bins. Most were empty. One held pale blankets. Another held stained gowns, sealed in clear bags. On the back wall, a clipboard hung from a nail. Lena went to it. Delivery logs, she said. Elise photographed the top page. Most of the entries were ordinary. Sheets, blankets, gowns, transfer wraps. Then she saw one line written in a different hand. Yellow infant wrap removed from dock. Hold for PM. No patient name. No room. Just initials. PM. Dr. Penelope Marsh. Footsteps sounded outside. Elise pulled Lena back behind a shelf. Leo slipped between 2 bins so quickly he seemed to vanish. The door opened. 2 voices entered with the light. The first was Dr. Marsh. The second was Victor Crane. This cannot keep spreading, Marsh said. It won't, Victor replied. Klein is documenting. Documentation does not erase access trails. No, Victor said. But it changes who people believe when they read them. Elise pressed one hand over her own mouth. Lena's eyes were wide in the dimness. Marsh lowered her voice. The old file should have been migrated years ago. The old file is sealed. Nothing is sealed if Rosa Bell told those children where to look. Rosa. Alive, maybe. Elise felt the name like a struck match. Victor's tone sharpened. Rosa Bell is an elderly former employee with a history of confusion. She found the H-17 reference. She found a reference, not the file. Those are not the same thing to a regulator. A pause. Then Victor said, softer, you were paid to make sure the color problem stayed administrative. Marsh answered coldly, I was asked to correct a discharge pathway before a grieving widow collapsed under a scandal she could not understand. That is a generous version. It is the version I will repeat. Leo shifted behind the bins. A plastic edge clicked against metal. The voices stopped. Elise's heart hit once. Hard. The door opened wider. Is someone there? Marsh asked. No one moved. Victor stepped into the room. Elise could see only his shoes now, polished black against the grey floor. He was close enough that if she breathed wrong, he might hear it. A pager sounded in the hall. Marsh cursed under her breath. NICU overflow, she said. I have to take this. Victor did not move at once. Then his phone rang too. Graham's name flashed on the screen in his hand. Elise saw it from behind the shelf. Victor looked at the call, declined it, and said, Find Rosa before Elise does. The 2 of them left. Elise waited until the hallway had been empty for 10 full seconds before she let herself inhale. Leo slid out first, face pale but triumphant. H-17, he whispered. Lena looked at Elise. That's a room? I don't know. Elise photographed the clipboard again, closer this time. Yellow infant wrap. Hold for PM. Then she noticed something beneath the clipboard. A carbon copy sheet folded behind the cardboard backing. She pulled it free. Most of the ink had faded, but one line remained clear enough to read. Transfer wrap released Baby Torres, 3:17 a.m. Below it was a signature. Not Marsh. Not Victor. R. Rebel. Mrs. Rosa had signed for the blanket, which meant she had not only seen the baby, she had tried to make the hospital admit the blanket existed. Before Elise could photograph it, an alarm chimed in the hall. A calm, automated voice followed. Security assistance requested. Service corridor 3. Leo looked at the ceiling. That's us, he said. Security found them before they reached the chapel. 2 guards came from the elevator end of the corridor, another from the stairwell. None of them touched Elise. All 3 looked at Lena and Leo, as if deciding how much force would look acceptable on camera. Elise stepped in front of the twins. They are with me, she said. The oldest guard hesitated. His badge read, Harlan. Mrs. Harrington, this is a restricted corridor. I'm aware. Dr. Marsh asked that we bring everyone to administration. Then bring me. His eyes flicked past her. And the minors? No. The word surprised even Elise. It came out too steady to take back. Harlan lowered his voice. Ma'am, I'm trying to keep this clean. That is exactly what worries me. For a moment, no one moved. Then Lena slipped her hand into the pocket of Elise's coat and pressed something there. Not the yellow scrap. Smaller. Paper. Elise did not look down. Fine, she said. We'll go to administration. The office smelled of coffee and carpet cleaner. Dr. Marsh arrived first. Victor arrived 7 minutes later, which meant someone had called him before Elise had been seated. He entered with no visible haste, but his eyes went straight to the twins. "Elise," he said, "this has become serious. It became serious when security was called on children. It became serious when you entered a restricted clinical area with 2 minors and attempted to access hospital property." Lena's chin dropped. Leo's hands curled into fists. Elise kept her voice calm. "Then write that I did it. They followed me." "That is generous," Dr. Marsh said. "It is accurate." Victor sat across from her. "You are tired. You are frightened. Someone has placed ideas in your head at a vulnerable time." Elise looked at him. "Which someone?" He did not answer quickly enough. Dr. Marsh placed a form on the table. "St. Agnes is opening an internal review of your concern. Until that review is complete, no related records will be released." "Related records?" "Discharge files, bracelet logs, linen transfer logs, service corridor surveillance, and legacy archives." "And the carbon sheet from the laundry room?" Dr. Marsh's eyes moved to Lena for half a second. "What carbon sheet?" she asked. "Too smooth." Elise felt Lena shrink beside her and wanted, suddenly, to overturn the table. Instead, she folded her hands the way Victor always did when pretending restraint was kindness. "Legacy archives." The word sat beside H17 like a locked door. "You're freezing everything," Elise said. "We are preserving the integrity of the review." Victor folded his hands. "That protects you as well." Elise almost laughed. Instead, she reached for the pen and wrote one sentence across the bottom of the form. "Received under protest. Independent counsel pending." Victor's face changed by less than an inch. It was enough. They released Lena and Leo because Elise refused to move until Harlan wrote down that the children had not damaged property, touched records, or threatened anyone. Dr. Marsh added a final note to the incident report. Mother appeared emotionally escalated. Elise read it upside down and said, "Add that I requested independent counsel." Marsh capped her pen. "That is not a clinical observation." "No," Elise said. "It is the part you hoped would not be written." Outside, in the parking garage, Leo finally spoke. "You sounded like him." Elise turned. "Like Victor," he said. "With papers." The words hurt because they were true. "I'm trying to use the parts of his world that can't be ignored." "His world eats people," Lena said. Elise had no answer to that. Only when they reached the car did she let herself check what Lena had slipped into her pocket. It was not the carbon copy from the clipboard. There had not been time. It was a thin grey backing sheet, the kind placed beneath old forms to stop ink from bleeding through. At first it looked blank. Then Elise tilted it toward the garage light. Pressure marks, not readable, but real. Lena watched her. "Mrs. Rosa taught me that too. Old pens leave ghosts." Elise folded it carefully. "This won't prove anything." "No," Lena said, "but it proves there was something to write." By noon, Elise had called 3 people Victor did not control. The first was Amara Singh, a family attorney who had once refused a Harrington Foundation settlement because she said money made people lazy with apologies. Elise had disliked her then. That was why she called her now. The second was Dr. Nora Patel, an independent neonatologist recommended by Daniel's former colleague, not by St. Agnes. The third was a private investigator Amara insisted on hiring before Elise explained everything over the phone. His first instruction was simple: stop moving evidence from place to place. Every rescue attempt, he warned, could become contamination if Victor framed it correctly. "Do not summarize evidence to anyone connected to the hospital," Amara said. "Do not accuse anyone yet. Do not hand over originals. Do not allow the children to sleep somewhere Victor can locate." "They won't come with me," Elise said. "Then don't make it sound like rescue. Make it sound like choice." That afternoon, after Amara arranged a witness to meet them outside the building, Dr. Patel examined Oliver in a quiet office above a pediatric pharmacy. She was small, grey-haired, and brisk enough to make Elise feel calmer. "I can tell you he appears stable," Dr. Patel said after the exam. "I can document that I do not see a mark below the left ear. I can compare that to your account of another infant, but I cannot tell you identity from appearance." "What about DNA?" "We can collect a sample, but if you expect it to survive legal attack, chain of custody matters. Your sample, the baby's sample, lab handling, witness signatures. If Mr. Crane challenges it, every gap becomes a weapon." Elise looked at Oliver asleep on the exam table paper. "Then we close the gaps." Dr. Patel nodded. We start today. For the first time since the garden, Elise felt something almost like direction. It lasted until Amara called back. The hospital has issued a legal hold, she said. All records related to your discharge are frozen pending internal review. That sounds helpful. It sounds helpful. It also means they can control timing, and they are already framing the issue. Elise closed her eyes. How? Amara sent the link. The article was short, ugly, and already spreading. Harrington widow, targeted by homeless children. Impossible baby hoax. There was the photo from the bus depot. Grainy but clear. Elise seated with Lena and Leo. The paper bag by Lena's feet. The headline did not name the twins, but it did not have to. Leo read it over Elise's shoulder before she could turn the screen away. Hoax, he said. The word made him look younger. Lena said nothing. She took one step back, then another, as if distance could erase her from the picture. Elise felt anger rise again, but anger alone was useless. Victor knew that. Marsh knew that. Maybe Graham did too. Her phone buzzed with a message from Victor. This is what I was trying to prevent. Come home before these children are harmed further. Amara was still on the line. Elise, she said, listen to me. The next move will be child services. They will say the children are being exploited. They're not. That does not matter if the story looks right. A second call came in. Unknown number. Elise answered on instinct. For 3 seconds, there was only static. Then a woman's voice, old and thin, whispered, If you have the yellow piece, don't bring it back to St. Agnes. Elise stood so fast the chair scraped the floor. Mrs. Rosa? A wet cough. They moved the file name. Where are you? Ask for the room that never had babies. The line crackled. Then the woman said one more thing. So quietly Elise almost missed it. H17 was not a room. The call ended. Amara Singh did not like miracles. Miracles are what people call evidence before it has a chain, she told Elise over the phone. Elise stood in Dr. Patel's back office with Oliver asleep against her shoulder, Lena and Leo on the floor beside a box of vaccine coolers. The yellow scrap was sealed in a paper evidence sleeve Amara had brought herself. The grey backing sheet sat in another sleeve, useless to anyone except a person patient enough to read pressure marks. I have a woman whispering from an unknown number, Elise said. I have a file code that is not a room. I have a hospital freezing records. Tell me which part is not evidence. All of it is evidence, Amara said. None of it is proof. Leo muttered. Adults love making words smaller. Dr. Patel looked up from the sample kit. He's not wrong. The DNA collection took 23 minutes because Dr. Patel refused to rush a single step. She photographed the sealed swab package. She read the lot number aloud. Amara filmed from one angle while her investigator, a former court officer named Ben Ortiz, witnessed from another. Elise signed. Dr. Patel signed. Ben signed. Even the courier signed before taking the sample in a locked pouch. When it was done, Elise expected relief. Instead, she felt the absence of it. A test could answer one question and open 10 more. If Oliver was not hers, what did that make him? If he was hers, what did that make? Maya's photograph, the yellow wrap, the cut bracelet, Mrs. Rosa's call. The twins watched her carefully. Lena asked, What if the test says he's yours? Then we keep looking, Elise said. Leo frowned. For Maya? For everyone. That answer seemed to matter to him. Ben Ortiz returned an hour later with a hospital map printed from a city archive. It was old, water-stained, and marked St. Agnes Service Level 1989. There is no H17 room on the maternity floors, he said, but there was an H-wing before the renovation. Hydrotherapy, storage, recovery rooms. H17 was never patient nursery space. Elise leaned over the map. Room H17 sat beneath the east side of the hospital, 2 floors below maternity, near laundry intake and old records overflow. The room that never had babies, Lena whispered. Amara pointed to a handwritten note in the margin. Converted to temporary archive after flood damage in 2006. Legacy archives, Elise said. The phrase no longer felt vague. For the first time that day, the pieces seemed to face the same direction. H17 was not a room where babies stayed. It was where records went when someone wanted them out of sight. And because it had once been storage, not a clinical ward, requests for it would not move through the same patient record channels. A person could ask for maternity files all day and never touch the box that mattered. False hope arrived quietly, disguised as order. For the first time, Elise could imagine a path that did not depend on anyone believing her feelings. Ben found a retired maintenance supervisor who remembered water damage in the old wing. Dr. Patel confirmed that a baby's transfer wrap could be logged through laundry if it was removed before discharge. Amara drafted an emergency preservation letter demanding that St. Agnes secure all records connected to H17, baby Torres, and Elise's discharge. Even Lena began to look less braced for impact. Then Victor answered, not with a phone call, with a filing. By late afternoon, Amara received a scanned letter from Crane and Vale Legal Counsel, copied to St. Agnes, Dr. Patel, and the County Child Welfare Intake Office. It said Elise Harrington, recently postpartum and under documented emotional distress, had been approached by two unhoused minors who appeared to possess hospital property of unknown origin. It requested immediate review into whether the children had been exploited by an unknown adult or encouraged to participate in harassment of a newborn family. The letter never called Lena and Leo liars. That would have been easier. It called them vulnerable. It called them possibly coached. It noted that one child had handled hospital materials of unclear origin. It called Elise unstable without using the word. Leo read over Amara's shoulder until he reached the phrase unhoused minors. His face changed in a way Elise had seen once before, at the garden, when security reached for his arm. "They're going to split us," he said. "No one is splitting you," Elise said. Amara did not echo the promise. That silence was worse. Lena saw it too. "You can't promise that." Elise turned to Amara. "Can he do this? He can request. He can pressure. He can leak. If child welfare believes the children are at risk or being used, they can interview them. Because they tried to help? Because Victor is making help look like exploitation." The word tasted rotten. Exploitation. Elise looked at the twins, then at the evidence sleeves. Yellow scrap, grey backing sheet, photographs, DNA receipts, so much effort, and still everything could be turned until it cut the person holding it. Dr. Patel's assistant knocked and opened the office door. "There are reporters downstairs." Amara closed her laptop. "Already?" The assistant nodded. One asked if Mrs. Harrington is hiding the homeless children who accused the hospital of baby swapping. Lena went white. Leo stepped between his sister and the door. It was such a small movement. It broke something in Elise. Victor had learned their shape quickly. Twins, poor, unprotected, easy to reframe as either criminals or victims, depending on what the story needed. Her phone buzzed. Graham. She ignored it. A message appeared instead. "This ends if you come home. Bring Oliver. Leave the children with professionals." Elise showed it to Amara. "Professionals," Leo said. "That's what they call people before they put you in different cars." Amara's voice softened. "Leo, I need to ask you something. Is there any adult who can legally claim you tonight? Any relative, caseworker, shelter director?" "No," Lena said. Leo said, "We claim us." No one corrected him. Ben checked the blinds. "We need to move before the reporters identify the back exit." "Move where?" Elise asked. Amara hesitated, then said, "My office. It has cameras, locked entry, and a conference room. It also has the least sentimental couch in Boston." Lena did not smile. "Can we leave if we want?" she asked. "Yes," Amara said, "and I will put that in writing." That was the first correct answer anyone had given them. For 30 minutes, the plan felt possible. They left through the pharmacy loading door in 2 cars. Ben drove Lena and Leo. Elise rode with Dr. Patel and Oliver, so no one could claim the twins had been hidden with the baby. Amara followed with the evidence sleeves in a locked case. They made it 3 blocks. Then Ben's car stopped at a red light. A county vehicle pulled up behind him. Another moved ahead, blocking the lane. Elise saw the emblem on the door before she understood what it meant. Department of Child and Family Services. Lena's face appeared in the rear window of Ben's car. Not crying, not surprised, just tired, as if part of her had always known the world would choose this move. Elise unbuckled her seatbelt. Dr. Patel grabbed her wrist. "If you run at them, Victor wins." Outside, a woman in a navy coat approached Ben's window with a folder already open in her hands. Amara's voice came through Elise's phone, sharp and controlled. "Do not get out yet. I'm coming to you." But Elise could see Leo now. He was turned sideways in the back seat, one arm across Lena, like a seatbelt no law had ever written. The woman in the navy coat bent toward the window. Elise did not hear what she said. She only saw Leo shake his head. Once, then again. The false hope ended there. The woman from Child and Family Services introduced herself through Ben's half-open window. "Marla Novak," she said. County intake. I need to speak with the miners. Ben kept both hands on the steering wheel. Their attorney is on the phone. They don't have an attorney. Amara appeared between the cars before anyone could answer, heels striking the asphalt, coat open, face calm in a way that made calm look like a weapon. They have an advocate, she said, and until I understand the basis for this stop, no one is speaking to two children on the side of a public street. Novak looked at Elise in the second car, then at Oliver asleep in Dr. Patel's arms. This concerns the children, Mrs. Harrington. Then stop using them like traffic cones, Elise said. Dr. Patel's hand touched her elbow. A warning, not a restraint. Victor had built this moment for a reaction. One raised voice, one step into the road, one image of a rich, exhausted mother shouting at a county worker while two homeless children sat trapped in a car. That would be enough. Elise swallowed the rest of her anger. Novak opened her folder. We received a report that the miners may be involved in an adult-driven attempt to obtain confidential hospital materials. They're witnesses, Amara said. They are also unsheltered children in the company of adults they met today. Lena's face stayed at the window. Leo's arm remained across her. Elise heard his sentence from earlier. We claim us. Amara negotiated them off the street and into her office building, but it was not victory. It was a smaller room with better cameras. Novak allowed it because Ben had recorded the entire exchange and because Dr. Patel agreed to remain as a medical witness. Inside Amara's conference room, Lena and Leo sat side by side, knees touching. Novak sat across from them with a legal pad. Amara stood near the door. Elise waited in the hall because Novak said her presence could influence the interview. That word again, influence. Not comfort, not protect, influence. Through the glass wall, Elise watched Lena answer questions with her hands flat on the table. Leo answered less. Each time Novak looked at Lena too long, he leaned forward as if his body could block suspicion. Graham called during the interview. Elise let it ring. He texted instead, Victor is trying to keep this out of court. You are forcing escalation. Another message followed. Dr. Klein is concerned about your judgment. Come home now, or we may need a temporary caregiving plan for Oliver. Elise read that twice. Temporary caregiving plan. They were not just threatening the twins now. Amara stepped into the hall and saw her face. What happened? Elise handed her the phone. Amara's jaw tightened. Do not answer. They can take my son. They can petition. They can suggest supervision. They can make you look unstable enough that every choice you make has to be explained. He's using Oliver to make me stop. Yes, the honesty hurt, but it also cleared the room. Elise looked back through the glass. Lena was speaking now. Novak wrote something down. Leo stared at the pen as if it might become a knife. What happens to them tonight? Elise asked. If Novak decides there's no safe placement, intake can hold them separately while they locate beds. Separately? Same facility. Different units if they classify them by age, gender, availability. They're twins. I know. No, Elise said. You know it as a fact. They know it as survival. Amara did not argue. The conference room door opened. Novak came out first. I need to speak to each child individually. No, Leo said from inside. Novak turned. Leo, no. Lena grabbed his sleeve. Don't. But Leo was already standing. You ask her alone. She'll make herself sound smaller. She does that when adults hold pencils. The room changed around him, not silent, sharper. Novak's expression softened despite herself. I'm not trying to hurt your sister. People never start there, Leo said. Elise felt the words land on everyone. Amara stepped in before Novak could harden again. You can conduct separate questioning with line of sight maintained, doors open, and me present for both. Or you can explain to a judge why a sibling witness pair was separated after being identified as possible targets of intimidation. Novak did not like it, but she accepted it. That should have felt like a win. Then Ben entered from reception holding a tablet. Elise, he said, low enough that Novak could not hear. The article's been picked up by 3 more sites. One has your hospital photo. My hospital photo? He turned the screen. There it was. Elise in a wheelchair at St. Agnes, pale and half asleep. Victor beside her with the discharge folder on his lap. The caption read, Harrington widow seen leaving hospital under medical supervision days before baby swap claims. Medical supervision. It was a wheelchair every postpartum mother was required to use at discharge. They had turned it into evidence. Elise gripped the edge of the tablet until her fingers hurt. Amara took it gently from her. This is the game. They make ordinary things suspicious. Then we make suspicious things ordinary, Elise said. Amara glanced at her. The filing, Elise said. Victor sent copies to child welfare. He wants them to act. That means he gave them something official. Looking. Amara understood first. She went to Novak. We need the referral packet. Novak shook her head. Confidential intake material. My clients are the subject of the referral. They are not your clients. They will be in 5 minutes if they sign limited representation forms. Leo heard that from the conference room. Does that split us? No, Amara said. Then give me the pen. Lena looked at him, then at Elise, then at Amara. I want to read it first, she said. Amara's eyes warmed. Good. The forms took 7 minutes. Novak looked annoyed through all of them. When Amara finally received the packet, most of it was exactly what they expected. Photos, the article, Victor's letter, doctor, Klein's concern note, a summary from St. Agnes Risk Management. Then Amara stopped turning pages. What? Elise asked. Amara laid one sheet flat on the table. It was an attachment index, probably included by accident. Most file names were blacked out, but one line had escaped the redaction. Legacy holds 17 maternity incident, cross-reference Torres, Harrington access restricted, no contents, no explanation, just enough. Lena leaned over the table. Torres and Harrington. Leo whispered. Together. Elise felt the floor steady beneath her for the first time in hours. Victor had tried to make the twins look dangerous. Instead, he had proved the file connected both names. Novak reached for the page. Amara placed one hand over it. You produced this in the referral, she said. It stays in the packet. Novak looked suddenly less certain. From the hallway, Elise's phone rang again. Graham. This time, she answered. His voice came tight and low. Elise, whatever you think you found, stop. You don't understand what happens to the company if this gets out. Elise looked at the index line. Torres, Harrington. No, she said. I think I finally do. Graham inhaled sharply. Then the call ended. By evening, Amara Singh had turned the conference room into a battlefield made of paper. The attachment index lay at the center of the table. Around it, Amara placed the evidence in order. The blue bracelet photo, the current bracelet, Maya's picture, the cut strip marked Tor, the grey backing sheet, the laundry log, the article, the child welfare referral, and Graham's message. Lena watched the arrangement with suspicion. It looks too neat, she said. That's because it's not the truth, Amara replied. It's the path to the truth. Different thing. Leo leaned closer to the index. Torres and Harrington are on the same line. Yes, Amara said. And Victor gave us the line while trying to hurt you. That was stupid. No, Amara said. That was confident. Elise stood at the window with Oliver asleep against her shoulder. Child Services had not taken the twins, but the agreement was fragile. They could stay only if they remained available for follow-up interviews. Ben Ortiz entered carrying his laptop. I traced Mrs. Rose's call, disposable phone, but it pinged near Mercy Rail Clinic before the call dropped. Lena stood. That's where night buses stop. Already sent someone, Ben said. No, Rosa. But a volunteer remembered an older woman asking about a records clerk named Evelyn Marsh. Evelyn? Elise asked. Her legal first name, Amara said. Penelope is what she uses professionally. She signs as P. Marsh. Leo pointed at the laundry log. PM. A small piece slid into place. Amara did not let anyone celebrate it. Still not enough. Then Dr. Patel called. The lab confirmed receipt of the DNA samples. No result yet. I reviewed Oliver's newborn exam from the discharge summary Elise sent me. Elise turned from the window. What did you find? Nothing conclusive. But the summary notes a faint birthmark below the left ear. The room changed. Elise looked down at the sleeping baby in her arms. She and Dr. Patel had checked. There was no mark. Could it fade? She asked. Some marks fade. Not usually between discharge and today. More important, it was entered at 2:58 a.m. Ben looked up. That's before the 3:17 laundry log. Amara wrote both times on the whiteboard. 2:58 birthmark noted. 3:17 baby Torres wrap released. Elise felt the path sharpen. Which baby had the mark? Lena whispered. No one answered. Amara capped the marker. We need them in a room where silence has consequences. That means court? Elise asked. Eventually. Tonight, it means the foundation. Within an hour, Amara sent a preservation demand to the foundation, St. Agnes, Dr. Marsh, Victor, and Graham. She attached the index line, the discharge summary timestamp, and a notice that any alteration of H17 materials would be treated as spoliation. Then Elise made the call Graham could not ignore. She called an emergency meeting of the Harrington Foundation Oversight Committee, the small group Daniel had once chaired. Graham arrived first, face drawn tight, tie loosened. Victor followed him. Dr. Marsh joined by video from St. Agnes, her expression smooth and pale under office lighting. Amara did not sit, neither did Elise. Lena and Leo stayed in the smaller room next door with Ben, visible through the interior glass. Leo hated it. Lena hated it more, but Amara had insisted. Witnesses close enough to be seen, not close enough to be cornered. Graham looked at Elise. You should not have brought children into this. You did, Elise said. Victor's gaze moved to Amara. This meeting has no authority to compel confidential patient records. No, Amara said, but it has authority over foundation compliance funds. If St. Agnes received Harrington grants while concealing an incident cross-reference involving a Harrington patient, this committee can suspend review payments by morning. For the first time, Graham looked at the table instead of Elise. Dr. Marsh spoke from the screen. That is a reckless interpretation of an administrative index. Amara placed the printed line beneath the camera. Legacy holds 17 maternity incident. Cross-reference Torres. Harrington access restricted. Then give us the harmless interpretation, she said. Victor answered before Marsh could. It may refer to a billing issue, a naming discrepancy, a false intake duplicate. These systems are old. Excellent, Amara said. Then no one should object to preserving the box. Marsh's eyes sharpened. No one has said there is a box. Amara smiled without warmth. You just did. For half a second, Marsh's face emptied. Victor leaned forward. Word games are not evidence. No, Elise said, but behavior is. She placed her phone on the table and opened the photograph from 3:12 a.m. This was my baby's bracelet in the hospital. Then the current photo. This was the bracelet at the garden. Then Maya's picture. This is Maya Torres holding a baby she called Mateo. Then the laundry log. This says a transfer wrap for baby Torres was released at 3:17 a.m. Then the discharge summary. This says my son had a mark below his ear at 2:58 a.m. The baby in my house does not. Graham closed his eyes. It was quick, but Elise saw it. You knew there was a discrepancy, she said. Graham opened his eyes. I knew there was a paperwork issue after the fact. Victor turned toward him. Graham, after the fact. Amara wrote the phrase down. Elise's voice dropped. After what fact? Graham looked at Oliver, then at the glass where Lena and Leo sat watching. Shame crossed his face, but fear moved faster. If this becomes public, he said, the foundation loses the hospital grant review. The company loses the pediatric acquisition. Daniel's voting trust triggers a dispute clause. Everything he built becomes vulnerable, and I was trying to keep Daniel's company alive. Everything he built? Elise said. Or everything you control? Victor stood. This conversation is over. No, Amara said. It has finally become useful. Dr. Marsh reached towards something off-screen. Ben's voice came through the open doorway. She's calling someone. On the screen, Marsh froze. Amara leaned toward the camera. Dr. Marsh, if you contact St. Agnes Records before this committee issues a preservation vote, I will treat it as evidence tampering. Marsh withdrew her hand. The room held its breath without going silent. Then Lena appeared at the glass, one palm pressed flat against it. In her other hand was the grey backing sheet. Leo stood beside her, pointing not at the adults, but at the whiteboard. Amara turned. The pressure marks had been photographed under sidelight and enlarged on Ben's screen. Faint, broken, but readable enough. Transfer wrap released baby Torres. Beneath it, almost invisible, she holds 17. Graham whispered, Oh God. Elise looked at him. This time, he could not pretend he had only heard about paperwork. The vote happened at 11:42 p.m. Not in court, not in front of cameras. In a conference room with cold coffee, 3 foundation officers, St. Agnes, general counsel, and a hospital compliance director who kept rereading the words Tories, Harrington, as if the slash between them might disappear if she stared long enough. The preservation order passed unanimously. H17 materials were to be secured by independent counsel before midnight. Dr. Marsh's access was suspended pending review. Victor Crane was removed from all communications involving Elise's discharge, the Torres file, and any foundation matter connected to St. Agnes. Graham was asked to leave the room before the final compliance vote. He did. Victor did not. I represent the family, he said. Amara looked at Elise. For once, Elise did not wait for someone else to decide what her family meant. You don't represent mine anymore. Victor's face stayed professional, but something behind it went thin. Then the compliance director turned toward the glass wall. Lena and Leo were still in the next room, sitting close enough that their shoulders touched. We need their statements preserved, she said, as witnesses. Leo looked up at the word. Not suspects, not unhoused minors, witnesses. Lena's hand found the edge of the table and held it hard. Elisa stood. I want the record to show something else, she said. Amara did not stop her. Elise looked at the committee, then at the twins. When these children spoke the truth, I let the adults around me treat them like a problem to remove. I let security stand between them and the baby because it was easier to believe a polished lie than a dirty warning. That was my failure. Her voice shook once, then steadied. Lena and Leo Reyes saw what the rest of us were paid, trained, or frightened not to see. No one applauded. That would have made it smaller. The compliance director simply nodded and said, entered into the record. Through the glass, Leo lowered his head. Lena kept looking at Elise. This time, she did not look away. 6 weeks later, the boys still had 2 names. That was what the court papers could not solve. The H-17 boxes had been opened under independent supervision. Inside were duplicate bracelet logs, a corrected discharge pathway that had never been sent, and one handwritten note from Rosa Bell that said, wrong rap on wrong child. Call supervisor before release. No one had called the supervisor. The DNA results did what DNA did. They answered the question without caring how much it hurt. The baby Elise had carried home was Maya Torres's son. The baby Maya had called Mateo was Elise's. The court did not erase either name. For now, both boys carried the names they had been loved with before the truth caught up to the paperwork. But nobody let the newspapers write switched back, as if 2 infants were suitcases returned to the correct counter. Dr. Patel would not allow it. Amara would not allow it. Maya, when Ben finally found her at a rail clinic 2 counties away, would not even let people say wrong baby in her hearing. They were never wrong, Maya said from a hospital chair, thinner than her photograph but with the same stubborn mouth. Adults were. So the court ordered a transition measured in visits, feedings, medical checks, and names spoken gently. Elise learned to hold Maya's son without pretending love made him hers. Maya learned to sit beside Elise, while Oliver slept in her arms, though every minute cost her something. There was no beautiful scene where grief became friendship. There was only the harder thing. 2 mothers refusing to let the people who used them decide how they would lose each other too. Victor Crane resigned before the first ethics hearing and called it personal leave. Dr. Marsh was suspended pending license review. Graham stepped down from the foundation committee after Elise read his company messages into the record. None of it felt like enough. It felt like the beginning of enough. Lena and Leo did not move into Harrington House. Elise offered once. Leo looked at the marble staircase and said, this place has too many places to be quiet. Lena said nothing, which meant she agreed. In the end, Mrs. Rosa took them in, with Amara's help, a county safety plan, and a downstairs apartment behind St. Bridget's that smelled like soup, old wood, and laundry soap. The arrangement was temporary on paper. Everything good in their lives had always started temporary. The first night, Leo slept with his shoes beside the bed. The second night, Lena asked where the exits were. The third night, Mrs. Rosa taped a paper to the inside of their door. You are allowed to stay even when you are not useful. Lena read it twice and did not comment, but she did not take it down. Elise visited every Thursday, never with cameras, never with gifts too large to refuse. Sometimes she brought documents for Amara. Sometimes she brought groceries and pretended not to notice when Leo counted the bags. Sometimes she brought one of the babies, and the room became careful in a way that was not cold. One afternoon, Lena gave Elise the yellow scrap back. It should stay with the file, she said. Elise took it, then shook her head. The file has enough proof. Lena frowned. Then what is it for? Elise folded the cloth once, following the old rabbit-ear knot but leaving it loose. For remembering that proof started before anyone powerful cared to look. Lena looked away first this time, but not because she was afraid. Outside, Leo was showing Mrs. Rosa how to make the baby laugh by squeaking the pantry door. The sound was small and ridiculous, and one of the boys answered it with a startled hiccup of joy. No one in the room pretended that healed everything. The hearings were still coming. Maya still woke some nights asking if someone had moved the crib. Elise still checked bracelets. She no longer needed to check. Lena still kept bus tokens in 3 different pockets. Leo still stood between his sister and every new adult until proven otherwise. But the truth no longer belonged to the people who hid it. It belonged to the mothers who survived it, to the children who had been named before they were counted, and to the twins who saw the wrong color on a baby's wrist and refused to walk away.